Houston, we have a problem. It's cold, but not really cold enough. Hey everybody, so had an ongoing issue on this boat, and I'm gonna show you the trick that I use to actually fix it. So it's all about sort of a band-aid, I suppose, for fridge repair. And I've used it out at sea, and I'm gonna use it again today because the problem has reoccurred after, I think the last time was about 6 months. So here we go. So the fridge is on, and it's drawing just barely any amperage. If I turn it off, you'll see it jump. There we go. Turn it back on. Normally it's going to draw about 4 amps or so, and that's my first clue. So when I go back to the fridge, I feel it, and it's cold, but it's not like frozen like it should be. My hand should literally like freeze to the cooling plate. So these are the tools you're going to need to fix this. 2 cups of water, get that to a boil, and then just any old pan, because the pan just has to be able to fit inside of the little cooling plate area. So a little bit of background on my experience with this. This was many years ago. I was sailing from Maine down to the port of Charleston and got into a pretty nasty 3-day gale. Hove to, fridge full of food, and I noticed that it stopped being cold in there, and I could see that it was drawing a little power, not as much as normal, but the biggest thing is the fridge. So I was turning it off, turning it on, and eventually it did kick back on. But when I got into Charleston, I did my research and found that I just had to call somebody to come and do essentially a purge of all of the Freon, I think, that's in the system, clean it all out, and go from there. So the guy comes and he sort of explains everything, and I had troubleshot as much as I possibly could on this project, fuses, everything, and it just didn't make sense. So call the guy, and for about 550 bucks, he came. He was here for a couple hours. He sucked all of the Freon or whatever's in there out of the compressor, and he said, in his own words, that this may not actually work. You may have to completely redo the whole system to the tune of well over $1,000 for the whole thing, plus a lot of work trying to install it. Didn't have a lot of money at the time, so that was kind of out of the question. But essentially what he did say, the cause was just little particles of gunk that travel through from the compressor, and they make it all the way through the little lines, and then they get into the cooling plate and they clog that up, so there's no longer, the fluid can't be moving, the gases can't be moving anymore, so it stops everything. All right, we are almost to a boil. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and turn the refrigerator off, and then we got our boiling water, and it only takes about 10 minutes. I'll probably say, we'll call it 15. Put it in there. I'm gonna go ahead and just slide that guy in. Close it up. I'm gonna just close everything up. I suppose you don't really have to do that, but 15 minutes and counting, so we'll see. Now, so living on a boat by yourself, you have a lot of time to think, and I thought through the whole thing and eventually sort of stumbled upon the idea of, well, if there's some little particle in there, and the guy said that these particles, you know, can be in the compressor and they'll just cycle through, and then every once in a while they'll get sucked through the system and cause the problem. And so figured, hey, well, maybe if I can reverse that flow. And that's where I came up with the idea of heating up some water, putting it in there, letting it sort of push everything back through into the compressor, and then giving it some time, turning it back on, and presto, it actually fixed the problem. Now, months and months and months later, it ended up doing it again. So I just repeated the process, and it fixed it again for a number of months. And now we're going on 3 or 4 years of having this sort of issue, but I've only actually had it happen. Typically, it's once or twice a year. All right, so it has been 15 minutes, and it's the moment of truth at this point. So first and foremost, we're gonna go ahead and turn the refrigerator on. We're going to see, hopefully it jump up, and hopefully, yes, it jumped up a lot more than it did before. I don't know if you can see it. But now, what I like to do is come in and not sure if you can hear that. That is the sound of Freon moving. Now I've left the pan in there, which is fine. Doesn't seem to matter too much. But what we don't want to hear is that completely stopping. We want to hear it actually going like on off, like psst, 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 psst. Typically what I do at this point is I will just monitor and see if it continues on. Typically it'll build the frost up, all that sort of stuff on that, actually get down to really cold temperatures, and then we should be good. All right, so it's been a couple hours. Just gonna check. Yep, I'm still hearing it. There we go, and let's see how cold it is. Yes, frozen. That is ice. Nice. Cool. So yeah, she's working, and she's definitely cold. Woo. How long it'll go, I do not know. But if it happens again, I'll just do the same thing. Eventually we'll replace the whole system. But you know, like I said, if it comes into a pinch and you're out at sea and you can't do anything, just do that, and it should fix it.